I'm Damon, and I'm here at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta to share with you Porsche's first hybrid sports car, the 911 Carrera 4 GTS T-Hybrid. I'm here to give you an overview of this car, including features, specs, and options on this car, and then I'm going to take it for a drive and share my impressions.
If you're a Porsche enthusiast like I am, I invite you to join our community. Just head over to pca.org and get ready to take your ownership experience to the next level. We'd appreciate it if you give us a like, comment, and subscribe. We've got lots of Porsche content coming your way. Now back to the video.
When the Porsche 992.1 911s were hitting dealer showrooms back in 2019, Porsche clearly had thought about implementing a hybrid system into that car, and even said so themselves. And it had an 8-speed PDK transmission that could incorporate in the future a hybrid drive system. Well, now 6 years later, we have a hybrid 911 with a hybrid drive system, although the PDK transmission is slightly stronger than the one that debuted in the 992.1. The T-Hybrid system is smaller and more lightweight than most other hybrid drive systems. The hybrid system adds about 103 pounds to the 911. It operates off of a 400-volt high-voltage battery, and it's only for performance, meaning it adds power and makes the car more drivable, but it will not drive the 911 Carrera 4 GTS on electric power alone. In the Carrera 4 GTS's case, the car weighs about 3,635 pounds, though it's worth noting that the two-wheel drive, the rear-wheel drive Carrera GTS weighs 3,536 pounds. So a little bit more weight on this all-wheel drive car because of that all-wheel drive system. The T-Hybrid's battery is located actually right around here where the old regular 12-volt battery used to be. And it is a fast discharge battery that holds about 1.9 kilowatt hours of power. It can be charged under braking or through the turbocharger, which can send energy back to the battery or straight to the electric motor. The turbocharger also, in addition to charging the battery or sending power to the motor, can also help the turbo itself spool up more quickly, eliminating or vastly reducing turbo lag. In total, the T-Hybrid system adds about 54 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. The 12-volt battery, however, sticks around, but it's been relocated to the back of the car, and it operates normal vehicle electronics like the stereo, etc. The engine in this car has also been drastically changed. The displacement has gone from 3 liters in the previous generation to 3.6 liters for probably one factor, and that has to do with Lambda 1. I'll let another YouTube video explain that one. So it should be a more torquey engine, but it does produce about the same horsepower, 478 compared to 473 of the previous GTS. It uses a single turbo instead of 2 turbochargers, which is possible because it has that electric motor on the turbocharger that can help spool it up, and also the electric motor sandwiched between the transmission and the engine to help fill in the torque gaps that might come from a turbocharged engine. The total output for the car is a very high, almost Turbo S level horsepower of a few years ago, 532 horsepower and 449 pound-feet of torque. It can do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds on its way to a top speed of 194 miles per hour. PASM sport suspension is standard on all GTS models. However, this one has been optioned with the GTS Suspension Delete package, which raises it back up 10 millimeters to about 911 Carrera ride height. This is a little bit better for maybe driving in an urban area, or if you have a driveway that is less than friendly to a low front end. Fortunately, this car also has the nose lift. So when you're going over speed bumps in driveways, you can just hit that button and it will pop right up. The front end of the 992.2 was subtly revised, where all the lighting is contained now into the headlight assembly. But on the GTS, there's a bit more going on. These slats right here, which open, close, and change depending on what the car needs for the current driving situation. I happen to love how these things look. It's super aggressive, it's different, but I've got to say, everyone I've talked to kind of prefers horizontal slats compared to the verticals. And finally, it's worth noting the engine in these hybridized 911s, they don't have an AC compressor that's belt driven. Therefore, Porsche didn't include a drive belt because no accessories need a drive belt on this car. That opened up some room in the engine compartment, which was quickly filled up by a pulse inverter for the electric motor and a DC to AC converter. And now it's time to take this 911 on a drive, a short drive here around the PEC in Atlanta, and get some impressions. All right, now we are inside the 2025 911 Carrera 4 GTS with the T-Hybrid. I'm going to be driving this for a few miles around the airport road, get a feeling for this hybrid system, and I want to see if I can actually feel it working or if it's totally seamless. That's the big question. But first off, yeah, there's tons of cool stuff here. If you go to the home area, press performance, new for the GTS, you have all sorts of different things you can look at, from dynamics, which does throttle and brake applications, and I probably need to turn the car on. There we go. If I turn the car on, it starts immediately because there's no starter motor necessarily. It's the electric motor that starts the car. But back to what I was talking about. If you're in the performance area, there's the dynamics, tires, drive, and energy tabs. Now, if you're on dynamics, you can see your brake pedal pressure, how much throttle you have, which I believe it's white is gasoline engine and blue is the hybrid system. You get to see the PSI and the temperature of the tires. And then here we have on the drive area, we have a line graph that shows you when you give your throttle inputs, not brake inputs there, but then also shows you with this little diagram what's happening with the turbocharger, which can put energy into the electric motor or the battery or spool up more quickly. And then we have the energy area, which has the state of charge currently at 34%, battery temperature 91 Fahrenheit, and then how much of the e-boost and combustion engine is being used, along with another better diagram, more detailed about what's happening with the powertrain. That's the one I'm going to leave it on for a good chunk of this drive, but for now, I need to have on navigation to get where we're going. So here we go. I also want to say, when you are here, you can change the different gauge layouts. All the way to the top is the classic 5 gauge. At the bottom, you have a 3 gauge, which puts the 7 at the very top, and then tire temperatures on the left. Very cool. When I was in here a little bit earlier, it seemed like I had a bit more control over what to do with the left gauge, but I think that, experiencing a little bit of an issue there. Maybe I'll come back and be able to show you later. So I'm going to keep it on the 5 gauge at this point. It's a digital gauge cluster. So far, it looks fine. It looks like the classic 911 gauge cluster, but it's noticeably digital. It's not a physical one like in the 991.1. I know some people don't care for that. So, all right, here we go. So at slower parking lot speeds, we have the 8-speed PDK transmission. It's a great transmission. It's never been the best in slow-speed traffic pulling away, but that's okay. We're not going to be, hopefully we'll be moving most of this time, but it's something to note. All right, and here we go. So far, it feels like a normal car, normal 911, I should say. Now, this is a street drive. I'm not going to be driving this car super hard, but hopefully there's a couple areas where I can open it up a little bit. So normal GTSs come with lowered suspension by 10 millimeters, but this one has it raised back up, probably in case it's going to be used in an urban environment. So I'm going to look up the e-performance area and look at the energy. So it looks right now, yeah, combustion engine, 0 e-boost. Cruising along. So put it into sport mode. drops the revs a little bit. Sport Plus, a little bit more. State of charge already at 71%. It was in the 30% actually when I started this drive. So that means that the turbocharger, as I see here, is putting more energy into the battery. Yeah, really nice car to cruise in at this point. In Sport Plus mode, it even has firmer suspension, but you know, on a smooth highway, it's not too bad. I'm gonna put it back into normal mode for driving for right now. I'll put it into manual mode. You can hear the turbocharger back there, that's for sure. Yeah, from 3,000, there's a good amount of grunt. But you can't tell whether the electric motor is actually doing anything or not. I'm gonna drop down another gear. It looks like that there's some traffic here. Yeah, effortless speed in this car. So far, so good. I do want to say that there is no sense that there's an electric motor in here, just a really big turbocharger, which wheezes and chuffs as it's doing its thing. So this steering wheel is a heated GT Sport steering wheel with carbon fiber. It's a very nice size in my hands. Feels as good as any of Porsche's really great recent wheels, with controls that make a lot of sense. Let's take it out of manual mode for right now. Controls that make a lot of sense, and a nice feeling in your hands, and a good diameter. But yeah, the seats, these are the 18-way Sport Seats Plus adaptive, and I didn't take a lot of time to program them, but I was able to easily move up and down, forward and back, and you know, pretty right away. They seem to fit me very well. I will say that the car got a little bit confused right there in automatic mode, in normal mode, when I got on the throttle and off a little bit. Yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of a, if you're not smooth on the throttle from slow speeds or in traffic, you know, PDK seems like it will rear its head in that sense. All right, I'm gonna put on the manual mode again, come down a couple gears. Geez, it's hard to know what gear I'm in. I'm in 5th right now. Let's go into 4th. Yeah, a lot of power. This feels like turbo power at this point, 911 turbo power. That's pretty crazy from not just a few years ago. Wow. And yeah, just on that sweeper a little bit, you can play with the throttle really well, and you know, get the nose to maybe push a little bit wide or tuck in a little bit. It's a very intuitive car to drive so far, just sort of on the road. So this car also has the GTS interior package, which I'm failing to remember exactly everything that goes on here, but I believe it's this carmine, or this red stitching, I believe carmine red, and some of the Alcantara features that are on the car. Burmester sound system, I'm not going to try it out at this point. You know, I know these are good, but I don't know how much good that'll do for me to play the music for you guys. Yeah, the start-stop system does an okay job, but it doesn't feel exactly amazing. It's not in that instance. I think it's time to put it into Sport Plus mode to have a little bit of fun, which opens up the exhaust and sharpens the throttle noticeably. I'm also going to put it into manual mode. All right, give it a little bit of throttle, not a ton, but wow. Woo! Oh my gosh. That is some acceleration right there. All right, I'm in second gear again. Wow. Yeah, this car has a much throatier sound to it when you're accelerating. That's for sure. It is savage acceleration. And no, I can't really tell that I am in a hybrid car at this point, to be quite honest with you. Third gear, 3,500 RPM. This thing just rips. And yeah, the steering weights up a lot as well when you're in Sport Plus, and a little bit less so in Sport mode. But yeah, that throttle response is super sharp. You can feel that the suspension firms up, which is what it should do. But oh my gosh, this thing has a lot of power. That's, wow, and already 98% charge. So when I say fast charge and fast discharge, that's what I mean. I've barely used the brakes, so the turbocharger is doing most of that charging at this point. But let's see here, I'm in third gear, let's be in fourth gear. Pulling from about 2,000, and it pulls quickly. I'm sure partly in due to that electric motor. But you just can't tell that it's there. As I said, you know that there's a big turbocharger, but there's not really turbo lag to speak of. It's maybe not naturally aspirated sharp when you're on the throttle, but it's really sharp. It doesn't feel like even a twin turbocharged non-hybrid engine. Now I probably, as I said, won't have enough time to test those anti-roll bars, active anti-roll bars with the new 400 volt system and electro-hydraulic actuation, in the turns. But so far, as I've said, the ride is very nice. The brakes I haven't even been able to test out all that well, but just normal everyday driving, braking feels fine. Yeah, there we have a little bit of a rev match there in the third gear. Yeah, good downshifts. You can even hear the turbocharger huffing away on the downshifts there. That's pretty funny. Steering feels good. Having driven my Cayman a little more recently, yeah, it's not as good as the old hydraulic systems, just as everybody says, but to me, it still feels great. It's very direct, precise, and pointy steering, and you can feel enough through your fingertips as well. It's funny, it feels like it's sunny out right now, yet it's raining. Yeah, as a highway commuter, this car can do it. Very calm and collected when you want it to be. So, my overall impressions of the car so far is that the 911, at least for the sort of driving I've done today, isn't penalized for having an electric motor. And in fact, if you like having all that horsepower and torque, then this might be the car for you if it's in your price bracket. But I can say that the electric motor and its implementation is seamless from what I can tell. The PDK can stumble a little bit from a standstill in traffic, but really once you're moving, this transmission and electric motor and engine work together in pretty much complete harmony. So this car is actually, I believe, off the top of my head, $220,000 almost, with some of these options, such as a carbon fiber roof. Lightweight is one of them. The Burmester sound system, the front axle nose lift. It's an expensive car, and far away above the 160-something thousand that the Carrera GTS rear-wheel drive car starts at. Obviously, you're also paying for the all-wheel drive model here. It's a very nice car. For autocross, I probably wouldn't buy this car. I'd probably buy this if I loved to drive back roads and really wanted a car that could do it all. Back roads, daily driving, maybe the occasional track day, and yeah, it'll do an autocross. But probably this isn't the right car for that, being a little bit heavier weight and all-wheel drive. But, my My thoughts on the hybrid system is that Porsche did a great job with it. It's seamless. You can't tell that it's working. And it's just impressive that Porsche's been able to do that so well with this car. I will say, however, they only offer this with an automatic transmission, and I just drove an air-cooled 911 with an aftermarket hybrid system and a manual transmission. So it would be my favorite thing if Porsche were to offer this car with a manual transmission. But all in, great car. I think Porsche pulled this off brilliantly. And if you had any worries that the hybrid system in this Porsche is not performance oriented or would take away from the performance, that is definitely not the case.